You have to be incredibly ignorant of our country's history in order to come to the conclusion that civilians should not have guns as a means of self-defense. Hey everybody, hope y'all doing well today. Don't you hate it when you see a car coming so you don't merge onto the road, but then you realize that the car is actually way far off and you totally could have merged, but then since you waited too long, you're gonna have to wait anyway? Oh man. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Beto O'Rourke and the really stupid, sad state of affairs that his campaign, it's just terrible. So, Beto the Bro O'Rourke, a while back, said that he would have AR-15s confiscated because of the shootings that have occurred recently. You know, it blows my mind that people applauded that statement during the debate, and yet at the same time it doesn't. So check this out. There are people who feel like these type of weapons should not be owned by civilians, basically because they look scary. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. An AR-15 is a semi-automatic rifle. It is not a fully automatic rifle. It's not a 3-round burst or full auto or anything like that. It's not like a military M4 or various other automatic firearms that soldiers use. It's a civilian use rifle. Armalite rifle. That's what the AR stands for. Not assault rifle. Even that term is kind of frivolous, to be honest. Assault rifle, because you can assault anyone with anything. These are my assault fists. You know what I mean? So the term assault rifle I was actually quite comfortable with up until a few years ago, when people started associating that word with AR-15s. It's a single shot firearm. It's semi-automatic, right? You pull the trigger, a round is fired, and when you release that trigger, another round is ready to be fired again. That's the entire reason why a gun can be called semi-automatic, But the fact that it's black, not made of wood or anything, not like a lot of elegantly made hunting rifles and stuff like that. Ignorant people who are ignorant of guns, people outside of gun culture, see that and they think, this is a military issue rifle. Civilians shouldn't have that. And you would think that maybe these anti-gun people would see why our country affords this rights to citizens in the first place before immediately jumping to this anti-gun narrative, right? But no, civilians should never have had these guns. In fact, civilians should not have guns, period. It's crazy. You have to be incredibly ignorant of our country's history in order to come to the conclusion that civilians should not have guns as a means of self-defense. You have to. I mean, so think about this. The Revolutionary War, what was soon to be America and its citizens revolted against King George III, As far as King George III was concerned, they were still citizens of Britain, They were still under the lordship of the king. And because the early settlers wanted to have their own independence in another country, King George just was not okay with that. And so think about this. This is so important. because the soon-to-be citizens of America had a means of defense from the British military, that is to say rifles, America exists today. It's here because of that. And so the founding fathers, looking at history before and the history of their time, recognized that regardless of how noble men can be, people can still abuse power. People are prone to abuse power the longer they have it, it has to be in check somehow. And so they learned the hard way, right? They learned that the citizen should be able to defend themselves from the government when the government is acting out of hand, out of what they are there to do. The government is in service of the people, not the other way around. You and I as American citizens are not subjects to a king or a queen. We're not. We're citizens. And so we are free because of that ability to defend themselves. We're free because of that. My hoodie here, my grunt style hoodie, has dual muskets on it. 1776 is the year the country was formed. And without rifles, that wouldn't have happened. It would have not happened at all. And so there's this incredible naivete amongst people, some people on the left, a lot of people, very vocal people on the left, that think that humanity, the human condition, has not changed. We're so progressed past that now. We have multiple genders and all sorts of different types of sexes now. We have over 50 gendered pronouns and things now. We're so far past that. We're such an enlightened civilization now that no person would really do something so evil in power, right? Think about that. Like, so many people on the left are so trusting of the government, in spite of there being multiple reasons throughout history, even now in this very moment, multiple reasons why they should not trust the government. And in spite of that, they are so naive about the human condition. There's a reason why someone could be a president for only 8 years maximum, 4 years once, and you have to be elected again to do another 4. That's because ultimate power corrupts, Men are not perfect. The longer someone sits in power unchecked, the more prone they are to abuse said power. And so to hear people stand up and applaud Beto when he said, hell yes, we're going to take away your AR-15s, your AK-47s, it's sad because it's really built on a foundation of ignorance. That's all it is, It's weird because they have such trust in the government and the people they're trying to vote for, thinking that they are somehow this sort of pseudo Jesus-like character, that they would never do something so mean, so terrible, they're incredibly naive. I guess it's really just the only word I can think of right now. So they're just incredibly naive to the reality of a fallen world with people who can make good decisions, do good things, but can also do very terrible things, can make bad decisions. And so we're getting closer to this point where, and I've said this before in a few videos before, like, it feels like there's this kind of pending civil war almost. I don't want to be an alarmist and say, oh, it's coming, it's happening. I don't know. It's definitely looking more like that. Definitely is. When citizens are happy about their freedoms being slowly plucked away, that's super weird. That's super weird. But here we are. Here we are. So think about this. Conservatives and the very few liberals who do own AR-15s, who are gun owners, such as myself, would ironically have to defend themselves all over again from an overreaching government. making a tyrannical move. Now think about that. Like it's basically like Commande Liberals, you know, who the vast majority are very anti-gun, right? It's kind of like they're subjects to the king all over again, and they want to be that. You see that? Like, that's the difference. They want to be that. They want to be subjects to the king. Again, not independent, not expecting the government to work in their favor, on their behalf, but to be subjects again. Because, of course, if you prevent the people from expressing themselves or being able to defend themselves, you can control them, right? Like those are two of the biggest things. That and, you know, feeding the people, of course, that's also a significant means of control as well. And that's honestly a video for another day. But think about that. Ben Shapiro said on the, you know, Daily Wire, his daily show, he said that if the government were to, and I'm paraphrasing, if the government were to come to his doorstep and say that he's basically committing an illegal act by raising his son, you know, on his own volition, that he would meet them at the door with his firearm. And that's incredibly reasonable. You only have to be ignorant of history, you know, particular history. I mean, leftists are so good at recalling issues of slavery in America's past, but everything else around that they're just completely ignorant about. You have to be completely ignorant of history to not see this as an attempt to repeat history all over again. You really do. And also, when people say that they will, you know, they say, come and take it, right? Saying, you cannot take my gun. Don't tread on me. Leave me alone. There are leftists online who say, oh, that's a threat. That's a threat. They're threatening you right now. Government, they're threatening you. How is that an actual threat when the original statement is predicated upon self-defense in the first place? It's saying, leave me alone. It's not saying I'm coming to my house and I'm shooting you. It's not saying I'm going to go out there and kill you. It's saying, leave me alone. I will defend myself. Come and take it if you want, but you're going to regret it. That's a defensive posture. And yet people say, oh, that's a threat. That's a threat. And that's weird, man. Like, dude, this is super strange. This is super strange. It's super strange, man. And it's sad because leftists will look at these psychos who've gone out and hurt many people, you know, with these shootings and stuff. And they'll look at the everyday citizen, you know, they'll look at a family member, they'll look at a close friend who owns a firearm, who knows why they own that firearm, and will still blatantly say that they are part of the problem with America, that their desire to defend themselves by means of a gun is part of the problem in America. There's a gun problem in America. Of course there's going to be gun issues in America because there's freedom with guns. Duh. It's called the cost of freedom. Freedom costs something, and a lot of people don't realize that. I am fully capable of defending myself by means of a firearm. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's because I am a citizen in the United States. It is a Second Amendment right afforded to me as a citizen. And unfortunately, that means that there will be a time when someone else will use said right in a bad way, an evil, illegal way. But that doesn't mean that law-abiding citizens should be punished for that. It's important to understand that. Laying the sins of these shooters at the feet of law-abiding citizens who are happy and proud to be gun owners is sick. That's wrong. That is incredibly wrong. I mean, what's a different, I can make a different analogy. That's like someone going and stealing someone's money and then blaming someone else because they want money or something. It's super weird. It's a terrible analogy, actually, but it's super weird. So anyway, I've talked long enough about this. I could talk about this forever. You know, in another video, I need to talk about women and how women suffer the most under anti-gun policies. They really do. They really do. And it's surprising that feminists don't speak up about that. You would think feminists who are so desperate to be like men would also want to be strong advocates for the Second Amendment, right? Well, apparently we're wrong, because they're not doing that at all. Anyway, that's a whole nother issue. Let me know what you guys think about this. This whole talk of confiscating AR-15s. Like, Beto's run at the presidential race is not going to happen. There are way too many other candidates who aren't crazy enough to say that openly, who know better, to not be so openly extreme about what they really want in the long run. So he's not going to make it. He's just desperate. But there are a lot of people who applaud him, right? There are a lot of people on the internet. A lot of people say, oh, we need to be like Australia. We need to be like other countries. No, we don't. No, we do not. No, thank you. You like that so much, head over there. But this is America. The founding fathers and all of their shortcomings knew full well what's best for the citizen. They really did. I mean, they really did. And for all this complaining of America being so bad, ain't nobody going anywhere. Like this video. Give me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'll talk to y'all later.